So, folks, I am so excited to have Krishna Mohan on the DealQuest podcast coming up. He has such a varied background that impacts all types of deals in terms of what he's done in the past, in terms of what he does now, helping clients. Krishna, just tell the people about some of the things they're going to hear on your upcoming episode of DealQuest.
Yeah, Corey, this interview is an interesting interview where I cover my first deal and how I turned around and sold it to multiple seven figures. And then I shared my thoughts on building business credit for business owners and how important it is during these times and what kind of options these business owners are having right now to raise capital, unlimited capital for their business. And then also we discuss about the habits, the good habits of using debt, whether what's a good habit to use debt, what's the bad habit, and how do you make sure that you have the financial discipline to not only raise capital, to pay on time. And then we discuss about the core values and how freedom is important for me in my career and life. And then we talk about corporate experiences versus running business on my own, and talk about helping companies on growth, helping companies on funding and financing, and a few of my experience in working with business owners and my outlook towards small businesses and how they need to pivot to not only survive but thrive beyond 2020.
Yeah, no question. And there's so much good information there. And one other piece that I'll mention that Krishna talked about was really how companies that work with bigger companies might have a master service agreement and an MSA in place, but they're not really good at being able to get the actual projects under that. And he gave some great insights into that area as well. So folks, check out Krishna Mohan's upcoming episode on DealQuest. Do you want your business to grow faster? Are you open to new and out-of-the-box ways to drive revenues and increase value? How do you imagine the most successful entrepreneurs and business leaders double, triple, or expand their businesses tenfold or more? The answer is Deals. This is a weekly podcast featuring conversations with business owners, executives, and leaders as we reveal behind-the-scenes details that give you, our listeners, the confidence to pursue your own deal-driven growth. On the show, we discuss a huge variety of deals, everything from large, complex mergers and acquisitions to smaller deals that you can do even without significant capital. My name is Corey Kupfer, and I've been supporting deal-driven growth for businesses for 35 years as a successful entrepreneur, professional negotiator, and attorney. My goal is to help you strategize, plan for, find, and complete deals that will help your company grow faster. Welcome to the DealQuest Podcast. Let's get started. Krishna Mohan is an entrepreneur, business coach, speaker, and #1 best-selling author. He's been seen on Fox TV and multiple media outlets. He's president of Genius Visionary. Krishna has a deep grasp on understanding of business through his extensive experience working in manufacturing, consumer durables, telecom, information technology, energy, and data center industries. Listen, we're going to have his entire bio, which is very impressive in the show notes. So I'm not going to read everything, but he's got 20 years of experience working with 3 Fortune 500 companies to help them grow through sales and development and finance. He's been involved with several mergers and acquisitions. He currently owns and operates 3 businesses in real estate, business consulting, and retail. And he's an acclaimed speaker at various events and boot camps and management trainings. I'm thrilled to have Krishna on the DealQuest podcast. Krishna, welcome.
Thank you, Corey. It's my honor to be on your show.
Yeah, well, so listen, I'm excited because you have such a diverse background, and we're going to get into how that affects various deals you've been involved in. But before we go there, I want to take you back to when you were a little kid growing up, maybe 10, 12 years old.
Right.
What did you want to be when you're growing up? Because my guess is, not many kids I know are planning on getting into the deal space at that age. But you tell me.
Right. Yeah, that's pretty interesting, Corey. Back during my childhood days, I was always dreaming to become a doctor. And then, right around my teenage, by about 15, 16, I realized that that's not what I want to do. But my excitement was more towards, getting into corporate world, getting into white collar jobs, attracted to that, lifestyle, the money and the opportunity. And that's how I got into, sales. And I chose sales as my way to the top. And then I got into GE and, was with them for almost like 9 years, handled several management roles. Did a lot of things within the space of sales, marketing, business development, and then transitioned to Whirlpool. Worked on different divisions in institutional sales, government sales, so on and so forth. Then went on to another telecom, Fortune 500 company. I was in management roles. Then finally, it's always like something always bothered me, whether it's bureaucracy or not having the independence or a lot of challenges that these big corporations face. And then you're a small, needle in the haystack. And then I thought, okay, let me go and start working for smaller companies and make a big difference. And then I started looking for small to medium-sized companies, work for an IT company, then work for a data center company, work for a business analytics company, help them along the way. It's very, very satisfying. And then I realized that, okay, now that I have the experience with the large companies and the smaller companies, then I think the natural progression is entrepreneurship. Why not I start my own business? And that's how I started an IT company, sold it for multiple seven figures. And then 2015, I started Genius Visionary, where I started this company, identifying the problems in the market. So I found, a pattern across the board and identified a few problems. And then the solutions for those problems is nothing but my services in my business. And that's how I started this company. So basically what we do here is we help large organizations on entity structuring, market expansions, growth, due diligence, compliance, and exit strategies within the M&A space. And then we also have different programs for smaller business owners where we have a business coaching practice, which is Genius Business Coaching, and where we work with one-on-one with the business owner, help them to take from point A to point B. And then we have group coaching, and then we have DIY business coaching platform, which also helps the startups and smaller companies. That's all for the revenues. And then we have a program for helping these business owners to get funding and financing, because money is always a challenge for the growth companies. And then we developed a program called the Genius Business Finance Suite, which is primarily helping business owners to build business credit based on EIN. So they have this strong foundation. So based on the foundation, they can grow from there. And then we have a model called Partnering for Growth, where we partner with companies to bring growth. In exchange, we take partial equity positions. And then we're also into 100% acquisitions. So this is what is a brief story. Yeah.
So it's great that, we got sort of that whole evolution and journey, right? Because so many of us, most people I know don't end up where they think themselves. It is this evolution where you go from one thing to the next and you find your way in terms of what you're really here for.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to, because there's so much in what you just said, I want to go back.
Yes.
So first of all, what was the first deal of any type, whether it was some small deal as a kid or your first deal as a professional, first deal of any type that you remember doing?
Well, as far as the deal is concerned, I think the most interesting deal is an IT company that we actually were able to. It's a company which is started, but the owners are not so active, but they have client base. They really don't know the potential of the client base. And they're almost like they don't know what to do. So they're thinking of shutting it off because they don't even know the selling is an option. So since I could sense an opportunity here, and then I went ahead and said that, what are you guys planning to do with this? They said, no, we have these clients, we have client contracts in place, but we're not getting any business because we don't know how to take those contracts to the next level to get actual business from those clients. And I said, okay, here is the deal. There are two options. One, if you guys can, hire me, I can make it happen, which I know that they can do that. The other option is just let it go. So that's what they're thinking. Then I said, okay, so if this is the case, here is the deal. I'm going to, take over your business. I'm going to give you, we agreed upon a price. I can't reveal the price, but I said, it's like pennies on a dollar.
Yes.
So I said, literally pennies on a dollar. Here is the deal. You're going to shut this off. You're not even going to do anything. I'm going to give you this. Just walk away. Just walk away. That's it. And interestingly, they just accepted it. And then fast forward, within 2 years, I really took that company to like $8 million in 2 years, because I have the background, because I work for larger companies. I know how things work. I know how to get that done. And then that's really my deal breaker. That's what made me to focus on deals, and that's what brought me to M&A space. That's what is driving me even till date. But it's rare, it's really rare, and sometimes you don't know where the deal can come from. You have to you literally have to smell the opportunity, or you have to literally create the opportunity in a way.
So let me ask you this. So I want to apply this specifically. There's so many companies out there in the IT space, right?
Yeah.
And so, some of them run nice businesses. They make some money for the owner.
Yeah.
But it's very competitive. They're a lot of them very generic. They're a dime a dozen.
Mm-hmm.
How do you take a business like that, scale it, and then eventually exit it in a way that you get significant money?
So, let me explain you, right? In IT, IT is a very broad term, right? So we have product companies, we have service companies, we have staffing companies, we have federal contracting companies. We have companies doing specific things within the IT with specific target segment. And within the segment, what I realized is almost in most of, except for Silicon Valley type of companies, but most IT companies, smaller companies, they really are not good at business development and sales.
Right.
They do well because of the industry. They really do well because of the code or the software or the problem that they're solving for the client. And thereby, interestingly, I have the background, so I understand technology. Also, I understand how that industries work, and I also understand sales. So it really helped me to identify, like, for example, a lot of these software companies, IT companies, they have these master services agreements signed up with these billion-dollar companies. Yes. And then they have to go to the local projects, and then they need to bid for local projects. But that's just that just gives you the entry, but that doesn't actually give you the purchase order. And then you need to again put in the effort to actually get that purchase order through RFPs or through proposals, or to really know who is the the guy indenting authority, the guy who has the need, and then navigate through that process. And if you know how to navigate that, we are sitting on gold mines with these IT companies. Once you understand the value of the service that company delivers to the client, and if you understand the product what the product can do for the, let's say, for in a financial service industry or a healthcare industry, if you can understand that, and if you know how to take that to those industries, you will end up getting great deals within the IT segment. You will get the most profitable companies. You will get companies who are really having revolutionary products. But if you know how to do that, that's the key. And I realized that the founders of those companies, they still struggle to really take that company to the next level. They still struggle to take those products to the next level. They really struggle on many other levels because they're so stuck with their code. They're so stuck up with their product idea. It's like my own baby, right? So they're pretty hands-on guys. They're not really sophisticated business people. They're not that exposed to exits in a way, or they have less understanding about tax solutions. They don't have sophisticated knowledge in those spaces. So I think that is a phenomenal area that one need to look at.
So when you talk to me a little bit about your exit of your IT company, obviously positioned it through some of the things you're talking about, and then who were the potential? Did you shop the company, or did somebody come to you?
No.
How did that deal come about?
See, I passively looking all the time, every time, all the time. Every business owner that I talk to, every product that I sell, I always try to see what is the opportunity here beyond my transaction, beyond my own transaction, whether it is selling a product or service or do anything with these business owners. And when I look at them, I try to sense, so how is your business doing? What's going on? When we ask certain questions, the way they answer those questions will lead to certain other questions. And then I ask few questions and see their readiness or openness. And then, what's running in their mind. Are they looking for some immediate cash, or they're looking for something else? Why are they in that business in the first place? What is it that they're really trying to accomplish from that? So through asking these questions, you will sense, because my objective is I'm looking for motivated sellers. I'm not only looking for stable businesses, steady cash flows, proven market, proven service, proven offering, existing team, processes, all those good things in place. But I'm also looking the motivation from the owner, because the owner may not be good. Owner has to exit. Owner, something is not right with him. He's banging his head to the wall. He doesn't know how to take this company to the next level. Those are the clues. Those are the real clues. In my case, as I know, I realized that these guys do not know what to do with those, those MSAs, those existing, clients that they have. They did not see the potential. They thought, okay, I have this client, but I'm not doing anything. So maybe there's nothing much. I'm probably dealing with one or two persons in the company, but they don't know how to navigate. See, in sales, there's something called account mapping. You need to know how to map an account. Let's say, as an example, if JP Morgan is your client, as a B2B seller, you need to know how to map the account. You need to have a complete decision-making hierarchy with you. You really need to know how many number of projects going on with that account. And you need to know, how do you reach to the right person? You may not be able to reach the right person directly. You need to know how you can reach to that guy. Yeah. And you need to know what are his key RAs within the organization. If you are VP of something, how will your boss appraise you? What are those things? And if I know that, and if I fulfill those things for you, then I'm your friend. If I'm doing that level of research, then I have control in my activity. While I'm taking care of my interest, I'm also taking care of your interest. I'm making you to look good in your own organization. Yeah. Then naturally you will try to give me the information, talk to me, or work with me, because I understand you.
It so makes sense. And obviously, as you build those additional projects within a good client like that, you build your cash flow, and then obviously you can build your enterprise value over time, which makes your company worth more money.
Absolutely. So what I also realized in deals is people are not going to sell their businesses or do any projects with you if they don't like you.
Yes.
So the number one thing is likability. As deal makers, we need to also increase our likability factor, which is interesting. It's a psychological factor, actually. I realized that. And then how do you make them realize? How do you make them like you? By speaking their language. If I'm talking to a business analytics company and I have no clue about that, chances are that he may not be open to tell me anything. I need to be able to speak that language. I need to have a basic level of understanding. So then his comfort level increases, and then he tells the things that I want him to tell. Or he will be comfortable to a deal with me because he knows that the deal is in good hands. He is giving to a competent guy who knows what he's doing, who knows how to take this to the next level. And then we can structure the deal accordingly. That's a different story. But we need to first create the comfort level, right? I mean, if I don't even know the nomenclature of that industry, but I know, it's a great deal. It's more than money, I think. Sometimes these transactions, the way they happen, it's just not always money, or it's not always about the top line or something. It's really understanding the situation. What is it that you're really trying to accomplish? Do you need the steady income? Then I can offer you a job.
Right.
Come work for me. We'll figure out a way for that, right? And then we have knowledge transfer with us. We have a competent guy working for us. We'll fulfill that. Or you want to just get out of this and then retire? Okay, we'll fulfill that. Tell me, what is it that you really want?
Now, obviously, you applied these principles and grew a company, and then you sold the company at some point, right?
And then I sold the company. The reason I was able to do that is, on the other side, started looking companies where, in fact, the company that I'm talking about is primarily into, staffing, the IT staffing, and I looked at a company which is more towards software implementation. They do software IT implementation company.
Yes.
Whose focus is not on staffing. They really do not have a fully functional staffing division, and then plug this into their business. Mm-hmm. That's it. It's a no-brainer for them.
Right. So it's an opportunity for them to expand their offering. They don't have to build it from scratch. A lot of bigger companies would rather buy than build, because they can accelerate the growth pattern, and you really position yourself to be attractive to that.
So you just plug this in, because now I know their game, right? I know what is an implementation company. I know what they do, what are their gaps, how this can, because I know how to pitch the value for them in the way they understand.
Yes.
Then created the value, and then they need it, which will help them to go to the next level. That's the way I was able to do it. And as I said, we need to create an opportunity to a situation too. That's also one of our job. I mean, that's the way I think.
Yeah, I often talk on this podcast about the first thing that has to happen for companies that want to do deals is that the owner and executives need to shift their mentality, right? If they haven't really
Yes.
been thinking in terms of deal making, or they don't consider themselves deal makers. I mean, anybody could be a deal maker. I mean, obviously, people are naturally better at things than others, but the first thing is a mentality shift to always be looking for these kind of opportunities, and you're really highlighting that.
Absolutely, because there's no ready to go deal. There's nothing that's ready to go available deal that, okay, it's not that simple. There's a lot of behind the scenes work that we need to do even to get to a point where I'm ready.
Yeah.
And if you are the person who did that, chances are you will make it.
I love it. Let's take a break from the show for a minute so I can invite you to a new way to determine your deal readiness. I created a fast and easy assessment that will determine exactly how deal ready you are. Once you complete the assessment, I use your responses to identify the obstacles that are holding you back from being a deal-driven growth genius. It's as easy as heading to CoreyKupfer.com/assessment. That's CoreyKupfer.com/assessment and filling out a few multiple choice questions. I'll be checking in after the episode to see what your results are. Now back to the show. One of the other types of deals you do is, you help companies get financing, right?
Yes.
So
financing.
Tell us a little bit about that world too. Who do you help? And what are the, what are the factors in a company that becomes potentially financeable and how do you get those deals done?
Yeah. So there are two parts to this, Corey. One is every business needs funding and financing at some point, which whether it is for covering their operating cost or, like I said, could be buying a company or even buying some infrastructure for the company or real estate. Obviously, there are several products available through traditional banking source. What it is 85% of businesses do not qualify for traditional lending. That's a fact.
Yes.
The reason why that happens is two things, right? One, majority of the business owners, raise their capital using their own personal, FICO scores, using their own personal collateral, or potentially the collateral the business has, and that's what is a norm. But the bigger companies, the real large companies, they all have business credit. They build business credit and then use that business credit to fund and finance anything that the business needs.
Yes.
Because we're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars. So no one person can collateralize that. No one person can use that, their own personal, FICO scores to do that. But the smaller companies that I saw, like 0 to 20 million or even 15, mostly even 20, around that range, most of the businesses do not have business credit. What we do is, one is we are obviously partnered with a lot of lenders that we help with this financing. We also have few alternative financiers to fund these projects or any kind of real estate or operating cost. But we also realize that business credit is the most crucial thing for businesses, wherein if you build your business credit where you actually have a PAYDEX score, unlike FICO scores, you will be able to raise capital based on your business itself, which means revenue financing, merchant processing financing, receivables financing, and then fleet financing, all kinds of financing. But you need to work towards that. It doesn't happen automatically. I may be an established company with $15-20 million revenue, doesn't mean that I have business credit. So there are several steps to get to that point, to the point where you separate yourself from the business, where your business is independently raising capital. So we developed this program called Business Finance Suite, where it takes about 6 to 8 months for a company to get to that level, where they can completely separate, and the entity is independent from the owner, and then has the ability to raise any amount of capital. Now, for example, obviously it differs from the industry to industry. The key factors are, there are 3 phases. The first phase is, compliance. You need to comply to a lot of things that we make sure that you complete all those steps. Second phase is vendor accounts. Then you have trade accounts. Then you have unsecured debt. Then you have unlimited financing. These are the phases. You cannot skip any step. Traditionally speaking, you can get to any step right away, but that does not help you, because it's not because you have business credit. It's still because you're using your own credit.
Right.
The difference is using your credit has a limitation because they treat you as an individual. And then with business, you will be eligible 10 to 100 times than your personal eligibilities. That right there is amazing. 10 to 100 times is the standard if you have business credit. But if
Yes.
you don't, then you will only get one time. That's one thing. Second thing is, what business owners do not realize is that they are always on the hook. In business, there are chances that you fail. If something happens, then it goes back to your assets, your personal assets. I mean,
Right.
that's the reason we developed the program. It works very well. Once they're into that, then pretty good to go. And then once you have access to this unlimited funding for each one of your entity, you can replicate to every entity that you have. You don't need to be stuck with one entity because it's no longer your credit. It's about your business. Each one of your business can have separate business credit, and each business is independent on its own.
Sure.
So that opens so many doors, and that's why we are into that. And then that's how we are helping business owners. Yeah.
Obviously, access to credit is crucial for a lot of companies to grow. And at the same time, some companies run themselves into trouble, right? So there's good debt and bad debt. There's, purposes on what, when it makes sense to use debt and when it doesn't make sense. Can you talk a little bit about that, the smart way to use debt versus the way some companies run themselves into trouble?
Yeah, the smart ways to use debt is, for example, right, like any debt that you have, like I was talking about, revenue lending. If your company has, good revenues, use that and then get lending. And then, first of all, you need to get into any kind of a debt only if you have the ability to pay.
Yes.
It's very important. It is very important, whether it is personal or business. If you over leverage, you're always in trouble. But if they follow the guidelines the way we teach, the way our program sets them up, they will never be in trouble because they will be in a position to pay back from that business. So for example, if you have business credit from one business, you want to buy that equipment or you want to buy this real estate, you buy the real estate and you make sure that you pay back, and then you don't commingle anything with the other businesses or your personal money. So you are separate, your other businesses are separate, this business is independent. So if something is happening with this business, it is limited to that entity itself. Now, there are so many situations that we see the business owners start using business money, or they put their personal money into the business, and they cannot pull the money from the business, or so many things happen because of that kind of commingling situations. We don't encourage them to do that, but as long as they can stick to that entity, that purpose, and then have a plan to pay that back, then they can really increase the limits like so much. Like if your initial credit limit is, let's say, 200K for your business, you can increase to 300, 400 if you're paying promptly, and then increase to 400, 500. Now you have access to $300,000-400,000 just for one business. That's a serious money.
Yes.
Now you go back and do any kind of a deal with that. If you start messing up with that, then you lose what you have. Because even if we get you the best paydex score, it's a responsibility to maintain that paydex score. It's one thing to have 850 credit score. It's another thing to maintain that.
Yes.
That's where the good and bad habits of managing the debt comes into the picture. But at a very basic level, if you separate yourself, at least you are safe. At least you're doing the right way of raising capital for your business. And then be prompt, be on time, because you get net 30 terms, all situations, whether it is Dell, whatever, if you want to buy computers, you can get net 30 terms. And as long as you start paying promptly, your scores are good. And then most important thing is business credit is visible for public.
Yes.
So you can't hide yourself. If you do anything, beyond this, then your vendors are looking at you. Your future deal makers are looking at you. Your customers are looking at you. That doesn't give a good picture about your business. Like unlike personal, you cannot look at anybody's personal credit, but in business, anybody can look at your business credit. So it's very important that you really, really are responsible in managing that debt.
That totally makes sense. And responsible use of, debt really makes sense, whether it's, to do acquisitions, whether it's to expand product lines, hire talent, buy real estate as opposed to, paying to lease it. I mean, there are a lot of good reasons to do it. It's just, you got to do it right. And you got to make sure that, that you're going to pay it back. Absolutely.
Yeah. Initially, they get 0% to 12 to 18 months, the business credit cards. They can really get some serious money with that and use that as your down payment, and then, do some deals.
Yeah.
And then you have time. You have 12 to 18 months and then pay it back on time. So that's phenomenal. But again, discipline is very important.
And, my experience in all the industries we work in, which are pretty broad, is that there's still, despite, we're recording this in actually right after Thanksgiving, late November, and it's still, COVID-19 time. But, my experience is there's still a lot of capital out there for businesses. Is that yours as well?
Yes. Capital is out there. There are a little bit of, restrictions, tougher underwriting guidelines, I would say. But the capital is still there. The key here is, again, it going back to basics. If you have business credit, then you have options. If you don't, then your options are very less.
Yeah.
Because they're really looking at very closely with everything. They look at your banking habits. They look at it, because today they want to be safe, because there are many businesses failing right now because many businesses are not doing well. It's almost like this entire year, we are done with this year now. How will a bank underwrite your business with your declining numbers?
Yeah. And it's interesting because, it's there are plenty of businesses struggling, and then there are some that are doing so well. I've never seen, I don't think I've seen an economic situation where there's such a split.
Yeah.
Some companies have really benefited from this pandemic, and are, especially the larger companies and certain people in certain niches who've been able to pivot, and then some are suffering so much.
Yeah, so it's adaptability, right? Adaptability to technology, adaptability to, you need to change your habits, right? Like prospecting habits, reaching customers, your supply chain. These are big things, and as an organization, if you're prepared for those things, then the transition is a good transition. You're really setting your company for future. Even beyond pandemic, we need to look way beyond 2020, 2021, 2022. Otherwise, like I said, we lost 1 year. Many companies did not adapt themselves. Smaller guys, they're struggling because they're not ready. They did not expect. They're not comfortable. Even, I cannot do this if I don't do these things. I'm not going to do business if I'm not going to have dinner with you. I'm not going to do this if I'm not meeting you face to face 10 times. It doesn't work now. You should be comfortable dealing with them over Zoom. You should be able to look at electronic documents. You should start becoming more flexible. You cannot be stuck with the old values right now.
Yeah. And listen, innovation and creativity are always key, but in challenging times, they become even more. And, as I've said on this podcast many times, challenging times actually are often the times for the biggest opportunities as well.
It is definitely the biggest opportunity. Look at e-commerce industry. Look at Amazon, right? There's so many mom and pop shops. They're really doing well because world has become a level playing field right now. And if we are not adapting, guess what? Your competition could be in some other country. You never know. So depending on my industry, I need to be aware of everything. I cannot be stuck with my local market. I cannot be stuck with this. I cannot be stuck with that. I need to look at, everybody's adapting, including education system. They have to adapt.
Yeah.
It's not an easy one. Like I said, because of the virtual situation, everything has become a leveling field. So what it means is you're inviting so much competition.
Yeah.
Coming from unknown space. Unknown competition is out there right now.
Yeah.
So adaptability is very important. Making use of your resources. Make best use of your resources, right? Like I said, going back to your credit. Educate yourself, make use of it, and then build your company or buy the next company. Do something. If you don't know how to use it, you're losing an opportunity that's available for you. But on the other side, you're still struggling with your revenues.
Yeah, totally get it. So, Krishna, you do a lot of, you gave a good summary earlier in the podcast about the various things you do for businesses, not only the financing, but also, the consulting and coaching and growth strategy and all that kind of stuff. If people want to find out more about the various services you provide, what's the best place for them to go?
Yeah, the best way to reach out is my email, which is krishna@geniusbusinesscoach.com, or they can visit geniusbusinesscoach.com, or they can visit geniusvisionaryinc.com. What I can also do for your audience, if they're interested, I can offer a 90 days free business coaching from our online academy, which is Genius Online Academy. So if anybody is interested, they can write to me at Krishna@geniusbusinesscoach.com. I'll be happy to enroll them.
Oh, that's great. So what a generous offer, folks. Free 90 days and Online Business Academy. That's really appreciate that, Krishna, for the audience. So my final question on the podcast is always about my highest value in life, which is freedom. And for me, freedom, means everything from freedom from oppression for all people around the world to, the reason I'm an entrepreneur, I don't work for somebody, to be free to build my life and my, and my business and the way I wanted to and serve my clients the way I wanted. What does freedom mean to you and how does it apply in your business and life?
The freedom is ability to do, what you want, when you want with whoever you want. But at the same time, the freedom is important, even for me in my life, is because it helps me to, think. It helps me to, spend time with the people that I want to spend my time with in my life. Yes. And it also helps me to focus on the things that I want to focus on, which I did not find while I was in the corporate world, because there are so many things that I want to spend my time with. I can't do that right now, including spiritual pursuits, including few other things that I do, which is important for me, because your life, your career, both happen simultaneously. We don't have things separate. So time is the most precious thing. So the freedom that I have, money gives me time freedom in my life. And that time freedom will allow me to spend my time at the places or with the people that I want to spend my time with. That's freedom for me.
Love that answer. That's fantastic. Krishna, thank you so much for being a guest on the DealQuest podcast.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Corey. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining me on this episode of DealQuest, where we help you understand how deal-driven growth can be your ticket to freedom. I want to invite you to a unique way to tap into the wisdom and experience of the DealQuest community. Join the DealQuest Deal Den Zoom calls, a free monthly 90-minute mastermind. In the mastermind, we address all the challenges you may be facing and help support you with the opportunities that may arise in terms of deal-driven growth. You will get input not only from me, but all the members on the call will collaborate and serve each other in a mastermind format. To sign up for the free mastermind, go to www.corykupfer.com/dealden. That's corykupfer.com/dealden. I'll see you there. I'm Corey Kupfer. Until next week, wishing you the freedom and financial prosperity that I know your DealQuest will bring.